Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. We begin with the federal election here in Windsor, Essex, where local candidates faced off in a series of debates. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa was there and brings us our top story.
The Windsor-Essex Chamber of Commerce's federal election debate just wrapped up here at the Serbian Center on Tuesday. It's a long-standing event where candidates come and face off on top election issues. So they talked about things like housing, immigration, and tariffs. Two of the three Conservative candidates for the Windsor-Essex region did not show up to this event. One of them did, and it was Harb Gill, who's running in Windsor West. That's one of the ridings to watch this election.
At this crucial time, Windsor West needs a fighter.
NDP candidate and incumbent Brian Massey came out swinging. He's been the riding's MP for more than 20 years.
I have stood up in Parliament raising your concerns day in and day out.
But Conservative candidate Gill came ready to punch back.
This election is about change. Change from a lost Liberal decade of high inflation and poor economic policies. And change from ineffective Windsor West representation, whose NDP party is guilty of propping up these failed Liberal governments.
While the candidates were asked about a variety of issues, healthcare and the addiction crisis became a focus when asked how they'd help revive downtown Windsor.
We need to find a way to deal with the problem of the opioid crisis. And that involves funding the municipalities and having safe places where these people can go, where these people can get the help that they need.
The opioid pandemic is something that should be a national strategy. And we should also be putting mental health in the Canadian Health Act. I see too many people not getting the supports they deserve.
And with soon-to-be 3 international crossings in the riding, candidates also spoke passionately about immigration. While all candidates agreed that newcomers are welcome, some said the country needs a better plan.
We have to have proper housing. We gotta have people that we need here with skills and talents that Canada needs, not just unmeasured immigration.
We are not prepared for the amount of people that we have currently. So we need the jobs, the housing to support these people.
Closing out the Windsor West debate was Green Party candidate Louay Ahmed. He acknowledged that while his party likely won't win the majority of seats, now is the time for Canadians to make an informed decision.
For the love of God, please vote for someone good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also running in Windsor West are Joseph Markham for the Communist Party and Margaret Willemazar for the Marxist-Leninist Party. They were not among the candidates invited to the debate. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
The Auto Workers Union is endorsing the Liberals in Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore. Unifor 444 confirming the decision on the day workers return to the Windsor Assembly Plant. They're back after a 2-week layoff caused by U.S. President Donald Trump's auto tariffs.
I'm Dalton Shen, and I'm outside Gate 1 of Stellantis Chrysler's Windsor Assembly Plant. After a 2-week pause in production, the plant's workers are back on the job.
But there's no telling what the future will bring. The reason for the 2-week production pause is still very much at play. That's U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on the non-American content of vehicles like the Pacifica and the Charger. At this point, Stellantis has told Local 444 that production will be running this week and next week. But that's all that has been confirmed for the 4,500 people working at the Windsor Assembly Plant. U.S. auto analyst Sam Fiorani has some ideas about what's to come, and it's not comforting for workers.
The short-term restart of the plant is going to load up the necessary vehicles into the pipeline, but unless the tariffs go away quickly, the plan is for that plant to shut down for a few more months. For Windsor, there is more pain ahead, unfortunately.
Stellantis refused to comment on what the company called speculation. At the automaker's annual shareholders meeting last week, the company warned that the North American and European auto industries are at risk. But Fiorani says there are reasons Windsor workers should stay positive.
The Pacifica, the Voyager, and the Grand Caravan are very high-demand vehicles. They are the top-selling vehicles in their segment in North America. And they're likely to remain there for the rest of this generation. Globally, Stellantis is doing relatively well.
On top of economic concerns, there's a question of Canada's upcoming federal election. Local 444 and Local 200 both confirmed they're endorsing a Liberal candidate, Eric Kuzmerchek, the incumbent MP for Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore. Meanwhile, Trump's trade war continues to fuel market unrest.
Obviously, Unifor is not happy about all this uncertainty. The union is organizing a rally at Windsor's riverfront this Saturday, April 26. The theme of that rally, Protect Canadian Jobs. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather on this truly beautiful day, Colette.
Yeah, what a gorgeous day. And I mean, not as warm as yesterday, but still, who's complaining when you've got some upper teens to enjoy, not to mention all of the sunshine as well. But okay, there's a little bit of something brewing here, sort of some remnant thunderstorms pushing across Michigan. So a little later on this evening, there won't be much left. They'll be very weak, but a stray shower kind of popping through our skies, sure. That is possible, and I have put it in here. Otherwise, very mild overnight. Tonight, 10 degrees for the low. And how about this? Tomorrow afternoon, more like yesterday in terms of the temperature, 23 degrees, but we will have a few showers or thunderstorms. I'll walk you through that when I come back.
Sounds good. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Let's turn now to the remembering of Pope Francis, who died Easter Monday. Here in Windsor, he is remembered for his heart of God and for pivoting the church towards being centered on listening. One local pastor reflects on meeting the Pope years ago.
I thanked him for what he was doing, his outreach to First Nations community and how important it is in Canada. And he responded. I remember he said, this is on my heart. Aboriginal people is always on my heart. And I thought, man, he certainly showed that in his actions and his choices. He's wonderful eyes. He's got whoever he's talking to, he's completely focused on that person. And of course, you're kind of awestruck in his presence. You know, it's hard to remember what you want to say, kind of thing. But no, he was a very, very gifted leader and with a wonderful heart.
And there are new details about the period of mourning and the funeral proceedings for the Pope. Catholics and global dignitaries are arriving in Vatican City to pay their respects. CBC's Chris Brown has more on the late Pope's legacy and how it may influence the choice for his successor.
The Pope's death from a stroke and heart failure over Easter has set in motion a sequence of ancient rituals with the Church's cardinals at the center. Amen. Tuesday morning, they gathered together and announced Pope Francis's funeral will be held Saturday, outdoors in the main piazza at St. Peter's. The Vatican also released the first images of Francis's body laying in an open wooden casket in the chapel of the Santa Marta residence where he lived. It was flanked by Swiss guards, and a cardinal blessed his body with holy water. This journalist, whose beat is the Vatican, says the politicking over Francis's successor amongst those cardinals is already well underway.
This is the Super Bowl for the Vatican. This is the most important time for the Church.
During his 12 years leading the Catholic Church, Francis was seen as a champion of progressive causes, including relaxing opposition to homosexuality, promoting women within the church, and apologizing for sexual abuse committed by priests, including at Canadian residential schools.
Some people are coming into this conclave ready to turn the clock back a little bit on what Pope Francis has done. I have seen that. There are cardinals who think that Pope Francis went too far on certain aspects, but at the same time, there's some who instead want to see this go forwards.
Francis appointed many of the cardinals who'll gather during the conclave in the Sistine Chapel after the funeral.
If the members of the conclave vote as if they were members of Party A or Party B, the Liberals or the Conservatives, yes, I think the rather progressive side will have more numbers. But I deeply believe that that must not happen.
Among the visitors to St. Peter's Square Tuesday were teachers and students from Newfoundland, fortunate enough to witness history and to consider its implications.
I think world peace, inclusion, accepting of other people is going to be critical, and I think that they really need to make that decision very carefully.
We have to come together more than ever before, especially in our political time right now.
I'm just grateful that I was here in this particular time.
Starting Wednesday, thousands of people will be able to say their individual goodbyes to Pope Francis after his body is moved from the papal residence to St. Peter's Basilica, and visitors will be able to file past his open casket. Chris Brown, CBC News, Rome.
To the federal election now, the Conservatives have released their costed election platform, the last major party to do so. The promises made in the document amount to about $90 billion in new measures over 4 years. But it also contains a tax cut and reductions in government spending.
It is a plan that will lower taxes and debt by getting rid of bureaucracy, consulting fees, waste, and excessive foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy. It is a plan to build homes by removing taxes and bureaucracy. It is a plan for safe streets by locking up criminals for a change. Change to unleash our resources so that we can stand on our own 2 feet and stand up to Trump and anyone else from a position of strength.
Poilievre also says he'll pursue a free trade agreement with the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. The Conservatives are also promising to increase military spending, and so are the Liberals, who claim the Conservatives are lowballing the cost of their platform's promises.
These numbers are a joke. We aren't in a joke. We are in the worst crisis of our lives. It takes a serious government. It takes a serious plan. It takes a plan that delivers today. It takes a plan that delivers investment. It takes a plan that grows this economy, stands up to Trump, and moves forward with the brilliance of the workers here and across Quebec and across Canada.
Carney also said if his Liberals win the April 28th election and all went to plan, he could balance Canada's budget in 4 or 5 years. That was not mentioned in his economic plan released over the weekend. Carney visited a number of small businesses before ending his day in Laval, Quebec with local candidates. And NDP leader Jagmeet Singh continues his campaign in Western Canada, criticizing the Liberals and Conservatives for proposed spending cuts in their costed platforms.
You have the power in this election to use that power to vote for New Democrats to say, no, I don't want to see cuts to health care. I don't want to see cuts to services. And I certainly don't want to see private care come into this country.
He also faced several questions on whether the NDP would survive the election, with current polls showing support for the party at about 8%. Singh says his party is focused on what they can deliver for Canadians if they receive enough support. And in other news, 5 former NHL players accused of sexually assaulting a woman in 2018 have pleaded not guilty. The alleged incident happened in a London, Ontario hotel room after celebrating Canada's World Junior Hockey win. CBC's Katie Nicholson reports.
Once kings on the ice, now in the spotlight for alleged crimes off the ice. A day of jury selection before 5 former World Junior Hockey and NHL stars go on trial. Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote, Alex Formenton, Carter Hart, and Michael McLeod are alleged to have sexually assaulted a 20-year-old woman in June of 2018. All 5 entered not guilty pleas Tuesday. London police had initially opened an investigation but closed it without laying charges. The case exploded into the public consciousness in 2022 when news broke Hockey Canada settled a civil claim by the woman for $3.5 million. There were parliamentary hearings, revelations Hockey Canada used money from minor hockey registration to help pay off millions in other sexual assault claims over the years, lost sponsors, and, amidst public furor,
I assure you,
London police reopened its investigation. Now 5 former teammates reunited before a judge and jury, but with their own legal counsel.
These players are not playing together on the same team as it stands right now because they're all interested, obviously collectively, in acquittals. But if it comes down to it, if one player is acquitted and 4 others go down, well, that's just how the system works.
Much of the case will hinge on the woman at the heart of the allegations, specifically her credibility and how she holds up under cross-examination from not 1, but 5 sets of lawyers. But right now, it's all about the jury. This case is expected to stretch well into June. And to ensure smooth sailing, they've selected 14 jurors and 2 alternates in a case that may put hockey culture itself on trial. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
When we come back, more on the federal election and how leaders plan on solving the housing crisis. Stay with us. Welcome back. How to solve the housing crisis has been a huge sticking point throughout the federal election campaign. CBC's Chris Ensing digs into the promises being made and how they might play out in this city.
Home prices in Windsor, Essex have skyrocketed in the last decade, and each party that wants your vote in this federal election says they have a plan to make homes more affordable and build more housing units. Here's how housing prices have ballooned in Windsor, Essex. The average price of a home now out of reach for the average household income. And this shift comes as Windsor, Essex experienced steady but then booming population growth. For nearly 2 years, Windsor, Essex has had net growth of nearly 1,000 people each month. Here's how many new housing units have been built in Windsor. These are single-family homes, semi-detached units, row houses. It's also apartment units, which makes up the largest single chunk of housing units built over the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, the two biggest issues I hear at the door is obviously Trump's tariffs, but also housing.
The Liberal government says they'd put in a wartime effort to build homes, beef up prefabricated home supply, and create a new government organization that would help build affordable homes. They'd also build on the Housing Accelerator Fund. The battle over that program has played out in City Council for 2 years. The Liberals want cities to allow fourplexes to be built in neighborhoods like these. Windsor's council will not budge on this issue, the majority denying those zoning changes.
It is ultimately the choice of the City of Windsor. We've partnered with the town of Tecumseh through the Housing Accelerator funding. We've provided them over $5 million. We've partnered with Lakeshore on the Housing Accelerator funding. They've been able to tap into $40 million because they've agreed to the conditions of 4 units as of right. And truthfully, there are 178 communities across Canada that have said, yes, we want to partner with you on the Housing Accelerator Fund.
And right now, housing costs are among the most expensive in the world here in Canada. Are they pricey in Windsor?
The Conservatives would give Windsor more money if more homes are built than the previous year. If they miss that target, the base funding drops. The platform doesn't say how much the bonus or the penalty is in dollar figures. Under this program, Windsor would lose 29% of its federal funding because fewer homes were completed than the year before in 2024. We couldn't ask any of the Conservative candidates about this because none of the ones running in Windsor-Essex would do an interview. To help build new homes, Conservatives would work to cut the taxes that home builders pay cities for new construction on up to $50,000. And the party would also create a new fine that would punish cities that block developments because people don't want new developments in their neighborhood.
There's a lot of people right now that will never be able to buy a home right now in the immediate future, and so rent is where they're going to stay at. But that's also where we can have control so they can build equity for a future home.
The NDP said they'd enforce a national rent control program and create a renter's bill of rights. The party also plans to tie money to zoning changes in cities like Windsor, with a plan that calls for 20% non-market housing in every neighborhood. They're also pushing a wartime effort to build affordable single-family homes.
We need to have those options, and those homes are 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a living room, and enough space to start a family and build on that. If you look at some of those homes, they've actually grown in space. But they have to be affordable, and that's a real problem right now.
That's what the main parties are promising you as you head to the ballot box to decide how to vote in a region where the average home price has increased by 60% in the last 6 years. Chris Hensing, CBC News, Windsor.
So how much will those promises cost? Well, have a look at the party's numbers. The Liberals released the cost of their platform this weekend. They say the housing piece will cost $22 billion over 4 years. The NDP say putting their plan into action will cost $28 billion. The Conservatives sent out their full platform this morning. The biggest cost in their housing platform is to scrap the GST at $7.7 billion. In other news here, you are looking at some of the large marsh fires that were burning on Walpole Island this weekend. It was the source of all that smoke that people could see east of Windsor. The fire department says 20 firefighters have fought 14 marshland fire calls since Thursday. And the fire chief says people should not be doing open burns this time of year, asking those responsible for setting fires to please stop. And they ask anyone with information to contact local authorities. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy will have your full weather forecast for the week coming right up. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, we got to enjoy a beautiful day, a beautiful weekend as well, but this week ahead is looking consistently awesome.
Yes, finally some mild temperatures kind of as we move forward, right? There's a lot of ups and downs in spring. There's no doubt about it. It's what's meant to be. It's what's supposed to happen. But there is that difference when you're going from seasonal to below seasonal, seasonal, below seasonal, to when you get to seasonal, above seasonal, seasonal, above. You know what I mean? And that's where we're at. We've reached that point, at least for the next little while. So kind of near seasonal right now with those current readings. Yesterday we were above, and tomorrow we're going to pop back up there once again with some milder numbers. I'm going to show you those here in just a moment. Of course, we do have those winds kind of coming out of mostly out of the south to southwest, Sarnia, and you notice Goderich, London, where it's turned towards the cooler air, and it has been breezier, although our winds were kind of subsiding, but it has been breezier elsewhere in the province. This is some of this moisture I was showing earlier in the show, a little bit of remnant thunderstorm activity really weakening out. But as we head into the evening hours, a stray shower passing through our skies, certainly that is possible. There will not be that much to it in terms of the moisture, and it's not going to hit everywhere. And then as we roll forward into Wednesday, a few isolated showers possible still early. Then the mid part of the day, we do get into some really nice conditions, and then later in the afternoon, things start to change around and ramp back up again. So it's still pretty late, around 4 p.m., but watch as I keep going forward, we get into much more of a chance of having some showers and thunderstorms coming in. So although there could be isolated showers elsewhere during the day, I just want you to know in the latter part, as we get towards the evening, that's where it's more an enhanced risk. And then into Thursday, things are actually looking very good indeed. So some really nice sky conditions. I kind of said there's not much to this. You know, maybe locally you might get up to 5 millimeters in there somewhere. Mild overnight temperatures tonight. In fact, for Windsor, we may well hold. I anticipate we will hold in double digits. I have us at a low of 10 degrees. Here we go tomorrow, 23. Thursday, 26, yes, Friday, 22, but that's when the next system will roll in and be bringing some rain showers, not only Friday, but Friday night into early Saturday. And then I get improvement for us again and back to seasonal.
That's awesome. The rain doesn't even bother me because I'm like, look at those numbers.
You have those temps,
Spring is
yeah,
here.
I get you.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
And thanks to you all for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.